Aromie here. Welcome back to our live Baxter DLC. We're on our own right now because Baxter's asleep in the morning, so we're going to leave the hotel and see what's nearby. It was probably best not to wander too far in case Baxter was available earlier than he expected, but it was worth seeing what was around. Heading out of the front door of the hotel and down the steps, you went down the road towards a nearby town that you and Baxter passed through on your way here. Most of it was the same as what you've seen from the car. Some of the stores sold the typical whatever that is, and souvenirs. While window shopping, you managed to find named keychains for some of your friends and family back home. Poor Ma and Cove. Maybe one day you'd find keychains for them. By the time 11 rolled around, your phone hummed with a new text from Baxter. It was as formally worded as ever. Good afternoon, Michiko. Oh, afternoon. What did she say? I thought she said 11. That's not afternoon. Good morning, or not morning. Well, it's technically morning, but he said afternoon. Good afternoon, Michiko. I'll be ready for our hike shortly. I hope your amenities were to your liking. It's been nice. See you soon. Wonderful. I've always enjoyed how responsive you are. We love a guy that texts instantly and texts more than one fucking word. I'll be ordering lunch in the Interium. I thought sandwiches might suit our activities for the day. It should be easy to bring along and find to eat cold. I would advise straying away from the paninis for that reason. I'll send along the menu shortly. Let me know what you prefer. As promised, Baxter attached a perfectly formatted PDF with said options, which seemed increasingly more complex the lower you scrolled down the menu. There are options for next to everything, what bread, what fillings, what cheeses, and what spreads. It was enough to make you forget what was available in a category as soon as you moved from one section to another, but you hastily made your decision with the seconds still ticking by and texted your order to Baxter, who replied with a blushy, smiling emoji. An excellent choice. I'll be waiting in the lobby for the delivery then. Make your way down there as soon as you're able to. Take care. After sending off the last text, you tucked your phone away and hurried to your room. The shoes were a must when it came to hiking, along with a full water bottle. With the weather and time of day being what it was, you hoped you might catch the last dregs of the cool morning air before the afternoon really set in. Once you were satisfied you had everything that you need, you returned to the front of the hotel. The lobby was as cavernously vacant as ever, so it wasn't hard to find the back of a distinct head of black and white hair near the fireplace with a bag of what were potentially sandwiches. Yet you were certain it wasn't Baxter. It couldn't have been. Sure, his shoes were black, the pants were dark gray, he had a gray bag too, which all eared to the side of monochromatic. But the shirt, his shirt, it doesn't match. Interesting. Well, I mean, my homie, he can wear other colors. He doesn't have to stick to just strictly black and white. That man was wearing khaki. It was as if he found a cryptid in the flesh. Cryptid? And you never thought you'd see the day where Baxter Ward was wearing a color that wasn't, well, that he wasn't wearing any color at all. Of course, you knew it wasn't actually a stranger with the same unique hairstyle and his body type, but it was hard not to joke about it. Baxter turned at the sound of your footsteps. Chico. He grinned, jaw tense. Baxter probably would have been more comfortable trotting around the lobby in nothing more than nothing more than his presumably black and white underwear. He was the guy that described skinny dipping as invigorating after all. I forgot about that. Oh hey. Seeing him so clearly bothered by it made you drop the humor. Something must have gone wrong. Even though you mercifully ignored the off-colored elephant in the room, Baxter couldn't let his breach of fashion go unexplained. He took a deep breath, a very deep breath, with his eyes closed and his hand unintentionally tightening its grip around the bag. His answer finally came out in the same exhale. I only brought one shirt that was suitable for a hike with me on this trip. I had been certain I wouldn't need more than that. He looked away, hand brushing through his hair again as he worked to find the words. After you left, I found this among my things. Baxter grimaced. He looked at the errant shirt as if he'd been hit with a splash from a mud puddle. And regrettably, I did not find anything else. This is the shirt I brought for outdoor activities. The fate would have it that I only found out when there was no time to run out and get a replacement, thus leaving me with a few remaining options: a formal button-down, one of my designer tops, silk pajamas, or... He gestured to the khaki shirt with both finality and defeat. So you own it. Okay, you own other colors. That's interesting. Baxter shook his head empathetically. The light in his eyes betrayed his expression with some delight that at least he found his misfortune entertaining enough to prod at. No. I suppose I must have accidentally stolen it from a roommate. I don't know who else would own a khaki button-down other than that prep. Oh. I mean, it looks good on you. You still look hot, dude. I mean, I think he can pull off anything. My memories of the final pack at dawn before I set out to California are hazy, to say the least. I had believed at the time that it took a pale gray, sturdy cotton shirt for occasions like this. The low lighting and my waning focus in the moment betrayed me. Of course, morning Baxter struck again. Sighing, he straightened the thieved attire. If he was going to be unpresentable, it should at least be decently so. The sandwich bag fell against his hip as his eyes met yours. I must ask that you keep this a secret, Richigo. Your secret's safe with me, BAW. Cute. Sure, but you just know I'll be saving this info as blackmail. You shrugged. Come on, soft bag, you look good. Man, beige really isn't your color, huh? I like 1 and 2. 1 is more cheeky, I think.
Thank you.
The discretion is appreciated. Truly, you are one of the few I can be vulnerable with. As unhappy with his predicament as he was, there is something undeniably sweet about the fact he hurried to make it at the risk of keeping you waiting. The collar of his shirt was crumpled, and parts of it were wrinkled, likely from the hasty packing after he finally discovered the horrible mistake. The latter couldn't be fixed without an iron, but at least the collar could be smoothed over. You reached out instinctively to fix it, incidentally brushing— oh my god, girl! Incidentally brushing it gently against the side of his neck as he straightened out the crease. So cute! Oh my god. So cute. Pale skin flushed with sudden warmth, pinking as your fingertips fell against the hollow of his throat. His Adam's apple throbbed, his breath hitching in his throat. His embarrassment managed to ease into laughter. Baxter covered his mouth to stifle the chuckles that echoed through the empty foyer. You tried your best to keep from cackling any more than you already did at his poor beige-influenced expense.
Well.
Regardless of what color I may be wearing, we should still be able to continue with our plans. It isn't as though anyone will see me in public like this. Who will the trees tell? It really isn't as bad as you think. There's nothing wrong with being off-theme sometimes. Au contraire, tell that to my poor, suffering ego. Years of tradition wasted. Shaking your head, you adjusted the straps to your bag on your shoulders. Okay, if you're done. Baxter gave you a world-weary glance, as if to say he was already greatly limiting how much he could have gone on about it. We can head out. Let's. He packed away the sandwiches into the bigger, properly gray bag, truly ending his lament about the state of his attire. Once he was certain the food was not liable to be flattened, Baxter gestured for you to follow him out of the hotel and onto the nearby trailhead behind the building. Technically, he could buy a shirt right now from like the gift shop or something. The path initially was paved and clearly marked. As you continued at a leisurely pace, it eventually narrowed into a larger swath of evergreen trees and beaten ground. The mountain air was sharper than the sea breeze you were used to. Instead of salt, you could smell pine and in between the wafts of liberally applied sunscreen. With a pleasant breeze and coolness drawn from a stream, the weather was more than ideal for a hike. The tree boughs provided cover too, hiding you both from the high afternoon sun. Foliage rustled at your feet as your shoes kicked up the fallen turf. The path wasn't big enough for you to walk side by side, so Baxter took the front. After some prolonged silence, he spoke up.
Perfect.
I'm glad that this trail matches what I saw online. It seemed like an easy hike as it lacks steep inclines. The path ahead is clear. It's been nice so far. That's too bad. Happy for an easy trail, bro. He smiled and turned, proud to have made the right choice. Do you go hiking a lot? He turned his gaze up to the tree canopy, considering the question for a moment as leaves crunched underfoot and the path sloped uphill. I don't go often, but I am quite used to it if that is the question. I am not sure if I consider it among my personal hobbies, but I'm not averse to it.
I love it.
I welcome the opportunity, in fact, when it is available. It makes a lot of sense if you got a hiking shirt and everything. Well, I don't know if I'm a hiking girly, to be honest. I've only hiked, like, the easy stuff. And that's been a while. I think maybe like 2 years now. Because I did want to go hiking this year with my friends, but it was raining, so we didn't go hiking. Instead, we went to the zoo. I wouldn't have figured that. His easy smile turned into a smirk as he pushed a wayward branch out of your way. Excellent. Then I would take it as a good thing that I am not yet out of surprises. Though I wouldn't call myself a mountaineer proper. He chuckled, stopping in place at a partial ascent. Baxter glanced over his shoulder at you and watched for any signs of difficulty with your footing. I may be fit to impress on a day hike similar to this, but I knew some people who who truly could call themselves wilderness aficionados. The types that you could see in a reality survival show, I'd wager, in the Alaskan wilds, fighting a bear for salmon. He stifled a laugh, finding it hard to believe Baxter could really know anyone who did those kinds of activities in the first place. And speaking of the Murrays, the parents and their 2 teens who would regularly go on backpacking trips that would last days and they'd sleep outside in the middle of the woods.
Certainly.
What's more, they enjoyed rappelling down the cliffside. Certainly they had safety gear, but I can't fathom willingly going to such degrees. Who's that? Who are they? Your neighbors? Or rather, it might be more apt to say that I can't imagine surviving them. Baxter continued on about some of the Murray's exploits and a little of his own reservations about anything else under the sun, including scuba diving. Although he had plenty to say about that, between Mr. Holden's entire business and living so close to the ocean. But it wasn't long before he decided to stop for lunch. It's already been a few hours since he had breakfast, and Baxter hadn't eaten anything yet for the day. There weren't picnic tables along the path, so the task fell to you to find somewhere to take a break. It happened to be the case that you saw a nice and sunny spot with some nice flat rocks first. How about we take a lunch break over there? Following your raised arm, Baxter eventually nodded in agreement. The 2 of you headed over to the stones and shrugged off your packs. After digging through his bag's contents, he produced the 2 sandwiches and handed over yours. The sound of crinkling beeswax paper unwrapping announced the start of lunch. Baxter already made it abundantly clear that he did not do water activities, most of them at least, which is fine. Because I also am not a water girly, but it struck you that he'd probably never tried one of the premier aquatic sports that mark this oceanfront state of yours. Hey Baxter, what do you think about surfing? He was about to take another bite out of his sandwich when you posed the question, and merely snickered when it finally registered. I knew you wouldn't do it yourself, but maybe you enjoy watching. It is quite a feat, I must admit. Did I ever tell you my ma used to surf all the time? She doesn't do it often anymore, but... And though he wasn't interested in trying, Baxter did pay attention to everything you said about surfing to the T, enough to merit asking follow-up questions at least. While stuffing your face keeping up a conversation fell off the list of priorities, Baxter followed your lead and dedicated himself to his own sandwich. Real silence was avoided thanks to the delightful world around you. The rustle of leaves, the bubbling of water, even a small songbird flitted by overhead before landing on a nearby branch. It seemed to stare directly at you and chirped. It was so picturesque that it belonged on a postcard. For the mundane activity of eating lunch, it was almost too much. Could one be overly serene? Can't believe we're really here. Why are you and I eating sandwiches on the middle of a mountain? Thanks for letting me come here with you. I think the 3rd one?
Of course.
I am all too happy that you accepted my invitation. He polished off his sandwich first and then wiped his fingers on a paper napkin. He had been certain to pack those. Perhaps I am being fanciful, but this feels almost dreamlike. Huh? You understand where he was coming from. Up on this mountain, your everyday life felt so far away. It was far away. You traveled for miles to be here. This time you both were far from home and in the middle of the unfamiliar. It was nature's domain, untamed in a different way than your experiences with the ocean. He nodded, reading the understanding your thoughtful expression. Baxter reached out and grabbed a leaf from the ground, twirling it around with his finger. Exactly. As you worked on finishing your own lunch, a heavy weight dropped on your shoulder. After a beat, you realized it was just Baxter leaning on you, apparently having finished his lunch and making himself comfortable. His eyes were closed, dark lashes especially apparent against his cheekbones, and lips parting softly with quiet breaths. For a second, you wondered if he fell asleep again until he spoke up, as if already aware of the fact that you wanted to ask. Is this nice? It wasn't much of an answer, though he did crack an eye open to look up at you from his perch. Sorry, was I talking too much? Not Aromie, Chico. He closed his eyes again, this time bearing his cheek a little closer into the hollow between your shoulder and your head. Dude! Hello? Are you tired? Baxter considered the suggestion for a second, then nodded slowly against her shoulder. If it'll let me stay a while, yes. Alright.
Thank you. You know.
The forest that I grew up with had different foliage. At least 60% of the plants growing here only exist in this climate. Really? How did Baxter happen to have that fact memorized? Maybe he had studied before this trip, although with him it was not outside the realm of possibility that he knew beforehand just cuz. Baxter's expression twitched. If that wasn't suspicious, then at least 60% of your observational power was wrong. Under your scrutiny, he shrugged and finally answered your question.
No.
Oh, just lying to me. He grinned like the Cheshire cat, self-satisfied and smug. His eyes glittered with amusement. I I entirely made that up off the top of my head. Although since I know truly nothing about California wildlife, it may reflect reality after all. Probably not, but I can't rule it out completely. You laughed at his nonsense. He was so blunt about it. At your mirth, his grin grew wider, and he regaled you with another fake nature facts. Can you not? My girl and I are fucking gullible as fuck. You tell me something, I'm like, yo, dead ass? He spoke about the California mountain hare, the only North American rodent that ate a large diet of bees. It was entirely made up by a man who normally dressed in a monochrome. But the meal was over by that point, and you did have to trek ahead before you could return to the hotel. Baxter separated himself from your shoulder, perky as ever. Trash and scraps were thrown into the delivery bag. Baxter stuffed it into his normal bag.
Good.
Leave no trace. You gave thumbs up after making sure that you hadn't missed anything. With everything stowed away, the two of you slid off the rock and rejoined the path. He's so cute. This is like such a cute date. It's so cute. Should ask Tyler to go hiking. I should. I should ask as we're in like the middle of fall, so it'll be hella cold. But at least maybe the trees will be like changing in weather by then. But anyway, thank you guys for watching today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.